After some minor technical difficulties, you know,
Mm.
many are the afflictions of the righteous, but He delivers us out of them all. We used to sing this song, He saved me just in time, Keith. I prefer He saved me long before the time.
Yeah. Nothing like the nick of time to freak you out a little bit, huh?
Yeah, the pressure's on, right? So
Oh,
anyway, with my great friend Keith McCumber, who me and my wife, we just love this guy. You know, I was thinking about this. If you don't know him or you don't know anything about him, his store continuously gets rated, in the top 12 for the United States and Canada, and that's about out of 15,000 stores. So when you're at this level, obviously you're doing something right.
thank you, Dad.
And sometimes it's in spite of ourselves, right, Keith?
Yeah, it's important to get out of my own way sometimes, you know.
Yeah. And and you need to learn how to delegate, and I say it's DEL a gate things, but you got to understand how to do it correctly, because if you don't do it correctly, then what happens is your people get frustrated, you get frustrated, and nothing much gets accomplished. And maybe we'll talk a little bit about that too, Keith. But anyway, you started to share something with me about one of your employees, and I said, well, instead of let's talking about it before we get started, let's just talk about it and see, if we could put our brains together and figure out, what you did, and,
Mhm.
maybe make some adjustments if it happens again next time, or, it just simply helps those who are viewing our program. So, Keith, I'm handing it over to you, sir.
Thank you. So what I recognize over the years is you need to um, read the room. Because if you can read the room, you can understand what the problem is. And once you know what the problem is, you can come up with the solution. And so this one girl, before I hired her, she said, I have ADHD, Keith. I was like, okay, I could deal with that. Right. Not knowing full well what was going to really happen. But hey, I'll take it on. Um,
Right.
but she was upfront about it. So fair. Right. And so yesterday she came to me and she's full of anxiety and her ADHD was kicking in um, she was pretty freaked out and couldn't handle all the flow of feelings that were going on. And so we had a discussion about it because to me, leadership is having discussions about what's going on in the day. Because if people are holding things in or bottling them up, they're not effective. I'm
Exactly.
to
Because
be
they're, even as a leader, if you're holding things up, then you become ineffective.
right. It's like diarrhea. Sooner or later, it's going to come out, right?
Yeah, and when it comes out all at once, it's not much fun, especially
Right.
if you got to jog across the room. But anyway,
So let's
good.
get prepared. Get the toilet paper, get in the room, do the thing, rather than, oh my God, I'm in the middle of nowhere. I have no toilet paper and I'm going to make a mess. That's just how I see it. And so we sat down, we had a chat. She cried. Um, we had a moment. And then she went back to work happy and she did a great job.
You know,
So taking a few moments, that's all it takes.
well, it's quality time, quality time, and as leaders, sometimes you know they're not looking for answers; they just got to get it out.
Hmm.
And sometimes, as a leader, we just have to, what are they saying? We're going to work through this together. And, a lot of great leaders, they have what they have is an open door. In fact, some leaders even they'll take the doors off their hinges. What are you laughing about?
Well, I could just picture that. It's like, there's no privacy. What kind of bathroom is that?
Right. Well, I'm not talking about the bathroom, man.
I
We're
know.
off. We're off the diarrhea thing, man. Now we're on the
Oh,
leadership thing.
never finished that one. That was just something fun to play with.
See, when I first met Keith, this is the kind of things, at first I didn't know. Right? Is this guy jacking with me?
Always.
Yeah, and he always was. And so, but anyway, but that quality time, the time that you took out of your schedule, you see, our business, sounds good isn't your business. The people that work for you are your business.
Yeah.
Because if they don't show up, man, if there's a mutiny on the ship, ain't nothing can get done. And people used to go, you own your business. I go, oh yeah, unless you have a problem.
Yeah. No
That's
problem.
why, yeah, that's why I'd always introduce them to my technicians. I say, hey, Keith, this is John. John, this is Keith. Of course, Keith, John's going to be doing, what you want done to your vehicle today. Of course, if anything blows up, we're going to blame John, aren't we, Keith?
1000%.
But see, quality time. If I'm doing this, oh yeah, you would have been saying, yeah, or you're checking this or checking when she's talking to you. Man, that would have went the other way. Trust
Yeah.
me.
And it's funny, that's how it all started. She was on her phone. And we have
Mhm.
a policy where you don't play on your phone. You get to work, right?
Right. But
It's important.
it's when that's funny you say that because a lot of people, I go into businesses and the employees are texting on their phone and stuff like that. And the and it's really not their fault. And the reason why I say it's not their fault is because the expectation before they got hired was not set up. The expectation needs to be, repeated more than once. It's kind of like watching a television commercial a long time ago, Keith. The manufacturers who put on those ads, when they felt when you were sick of it, that's when it finally stuck. Now, repetition is going to be the key to all learning. But see, you can never hold anybody accountable unless they know what you expect from them. And generally speaking, from the beginning, I'm working with a team of a furniture store right now, and there's no phones allowed on the floor. Period. And if you got to take a call, you do it on your break, or you do it on your time, not their time. Now,
Mhm.
what's interesting, Keith, is these are things that, I told Keith, he goes, what's going on? I go, well, I was training and walking at the same time because that's what I do in the morning. I try to walk, 2.5 to 5 miles every morning. And
There's a
that's,
talented man right there, I'll tell you. Huh? Not a lot of people can do that, though.
well, I was kind of, it's either that or, fall away. But as I do this, I study, I listen, I meditate. How can I make myself better so I can make other people better? Because there's the law of the pitcher. The law of the pitcher is what they see you do is what they'll do.
Hmm.
So it's like my dad used to say, don't do as I do, do as I say.
Yeah,
That see that's bullying or being a bully. That's being a dictator. You
that's bullshit.
see, right?
Not acceptable.
Yeah, and see, we always need to give clear feedback for performance
Hmm.
and also accountability or for the lack of performance. And I know sometimes, and I know this, Keith. I'm sure you know this too. You never want to say when we got a job coming in, it's an easy one. For some reason, that's just like the curse right there. But I've had my employees before, and they struggle, but I could tell they were trying the best they can do. And at the end of the week, and I'd walk up to them and say, "Hey, I know we struggled on this particular job. I know you put your heart and soul into this job, and I appreciate the fact that you didn't quit on this job and that you finally got it taken care of. Here's $50. I want you to take your wife or your partner out to dinner, and I want the receipt, and I don't want any alcohol on the receipt." And the reason why is I didn't want them to spend all the money and then get a DUI, and then now they can't drive, and I just added to the problem. On the other hand, if they did something good and something awesome, and a lot of times my clients would leave tips. I made sure that they always got the tip, but then I always added to the tip.
Hmm.
And the reason why I added to the tip is because if this client felt in his heart that he did such a great job, I'm going to add to it because I want them to know how much I appreciate them. And the other thing I was thinking about today, Keith, is a lot of people, a lot of leaders, they'll blame, on, I don't know, what is it, Generation X or generation, I don't know what generation it is. And they say, well, they just don't work like the people that used to. Well, the thing about people is they need to feel significant. They need to feel valued. And how are we going to value them if we don't know how they want to be valued?
Well, I think everybody's pretty much the same that way. If I feel recognized well for doing what I'm doing, or I feel appreciated for what I'm doing, then I'll do a better job, no
Yeah,
matter what
because
generation. So,
it's the praise.
yeah, the girl that was
Unfortunately, go ahead,
crying.
sir.
Sorry to interrupt, but the girl that was crying, she's 18 years old,
Hmm.
and so I deal with kids 18 to 50, some 50, 58, and those kids are all the same that way.
Right.
They just wanna feel appreciated and loved for what they do, and for the most part, they do a great job, like, incredible people. Every once in a while, they make a mistake, and so we need to discuss it,
Right.
and in my store, everybody's allowed to have their phone, but I request that they don't abuse that system.
Right. Abuse it and lose it.
Well,
See,
I haven't gotten to that part yet, because
but I'm just see for me, when I go into a place and they're paying more attention to texting than they are the people that like if you go into a restaurant or something, or and they're spending more time texting. What they're telling me is what their people, whoever they're texting, are more important than my clients. And see, and that for me, that comes from not letting them know what the expectation is. See, everybody's different. Me, I'm not a hardline guy because that doesn't get anywhere. But if I'm telling everybody, you know what, I don't want you on your phone, I don't want you texting, you can do it on your lunch break, you can do it on your breaks, and make sure they take their breaks. Because a lot of times, they'll try and work the system. Well, hey Keith, I didn't take any breaks today. I didn't take a lunch today. Can I go home early? No, our business hours are from 8 to 6 or 8 to 7, whatever it is, and it's your responsibility. You're a grown adult to take your own lunch. And if you decide that you don't want a lunch and you want to work through lunch, I appreciate it, but I can't let you go early because otherwise everyone else will think, well, if I don't take a lunch, I can go home early too. And see, it's so, and for myself, I actually did better when I didn't take lunch, but that's another story. Tell
right,
why?
people get
Why?
tired after lunch, it's a natural occurrence. So
Yeah.
what if everybody's on the same page and nobody wants to take lunch and just wanna work through it, just close early. Everybody's good. Here's your 8 hours.
It just depends though, because sometimes our clients didn't get off until 5:30, and they wanted to pick up their vehicle then. And if there's an issue, now I didn't know how to, I didn't know how to install. I could put together a system, I could do it, take my calculator, figure it down to a penny. I had it down. And as I talk to people, I let them share with me, you know, what their dream, what their vision is, which we started talking a little bit. We'll get back to that in a minute. But see, most employees don't even know what the company vision is. And not only the company, but the owner's vision. And then the owners don't know what, their employees' visions are. What if they have a vision of someday of owning their own home or buying a certain car? And see, if we don't understand this, you know, we can't help them set goals. And of course, any vision, any dream, or any vision, any goal that's not written down, it's just a dream. And we're never going to get there because we don't know where we're going. You know, anybody can, steer the ship, but it takes a navigator, a leader to lead the way.
Which
And
is why
so,
we have core values. It's
yeah.
simplified.
And I'm glad you mentioned values, because if you hire somebody and you don't understand their values, the best training, the best everything you could put at them, if their values are in direct conflict with your values, don't hire
Mm-mm.
them, because they're going to tear your whole team down.
Yeah, we got to have to align.
What's that, sir?
It's really important to align.
Right, because we don't want to mess with the chemistry that we got going. We want to add to it. And no matter who you bring in, it's going to be like, for me, when I go in businesses, there's like 10 levels of leadership. Well, there's 5 levels, but you can be rated from anywhere from 1 to 10. And I can be I'll just say I'm a 7. But whenever I go in a facility, I start off at 0, because I have to earn their trust, I have to earn their respect, and I have to respect them. And, I have to find out what they value. I mean, all these things that I have to do in a matter of, shoot, within moments, pretty much. Because if I don't understand them, how can I relate to them? And how can I get my message across if I can't relate to them? It's called the law of connection. And I have to learn how to connect with people right away. And listen, there are some people I just don't get along with, but it is what it is. But see, if my heart's right to help them, then it's on them, not me, because I'm doing the best I can. So
Which
we
is
got
why
to go ahead.
this is why I always start the conversation off with this company has 3 core values. If you can work well with them, this is going to be awesome. If not, probably not going to work out.
No, it's not going to work out. They're going to get frustrated. You're going to get frustrated. The whole team's going to get frustrated, because if the person isn't doing what they're part of, like, pulling the rope or tug of war, if they're not tugging on the tug of war, then the whole team's going to fall into that pit.
Mhm.
And sometimes, I strongly believe in recruiting 24/7 or 24 365, whatever you want to do it. And the reason for that is because sometimes things happen, and sometimes, life happens. But if we don't have a backlog of people that we can call on, to get in there, that, we consider hiring and stuff, then what happens is we get anxious, and then sometimes we hire the wrong people. And the problem with that is we spend all this money, you know, training them, whatever we want to do, and then they don't work out anyway. Of course, how you find out most of them don't work out is they, blew up a bunch of projects and stuff like that. Then we have to have somebody fix their problems, which now we got to pay, double jeopardy, right?
It's work, and you got to make the customer happy, and that's going to cost some money.
That's going to cost some money.
Mhm.
So, but anyway, your vision, your core values, do they understand? You see, we can tell them, but that doesn't mean they understand them. So I teach 42. We talked a little bit about DEL gating things. 42, you tell them, you show them, you have them show you, and you drill for skill, or you check up on them. But
Mhm.
see, when you go through the 42, then the 2 is Keith, can you share with me what I just shared with you? And if I don't ask that question, I'm just assuming that they understood, when in fact they didn't understand. And sometimes you might have to go over it 3 or 4 times. But you
So
see, man,
let
somebody
me
might go ahead.
let me play along with this and say, yes, I heard what you said, Dell. You said, I will show you, I will train you, you show me, and then I will spot check, supervise.
Right? But Keith, I said, you tell them first.
Yes, that's what I said. I will tell you, I will show you. Did I miss something?
Yeah.
What?
Play it back and you'll go, that darn Dell, he listens to every word I say.
Mm.
Because I do. But see, you want to tell them, you want to show them.
Mhm.
See, what you did is a perfect example, because you missed by 1. But see, that's how we find out. Listen, it took me a long time to figure it out. But once I figured it out, I know that when I go to delegate something, I'm going to make sure that they understand, because if they get frustrated, like the young lady that you were sharing, I'm sure, I've heard of ADHD or whatever. I don't understand it. My wife's a speech pathologist. She understands it. But I know this. I know, if I work with them and I go through my proper training procedures, sometimes they're going to make mistakes. That's okay. I'm going to go over it again. I'm not going to yell and scream at them. I'm not going to get offended at them, because the bottom line is I didn't properly train them and they don't have an understanding. Another thing when we work with people is to make sure they understand is the why. So if I said, Keith, your core values, uh, why do you have those?
Because we came together as a team to figure out what we stood for, and they came out of that.
Hmm. And why is that important?
Because that's what the team believes in.
Hmm. But see,
So
how many businesses or people that in the business don't have core values?
there's a lot.
Yeah, and see, that's why we're touching on this right now, because if you don't set the standard, or they don't know what your values are. See, what I love what you did is you brought the team together and you put together the core values, instead of, well, these are my core values and I'm going to shove them down your throat. See, Lombardi, I'm a Packer fan, everybody, so it is what it is. But Lombardi, as a coach, he would draw up a play and he would get everybody's input on every single play. And if he'd ask them, if you don't feel good about this, tell me, what we can change so you feel like you can accomplish what the goal of this play is. Of course, every goal of every play is to score a touchdown. And
Hmm.
see, what would happen is when they gave their input, and then on film day, if they didn't do their job, not a lot has to be said. Because they said and then they saw.
Hmm.
You know what? And then you could say, you know what? Remember when you said? Remember when you said?
Hmm.
Now listen, I want you to try harder. I know you can do this. I believe you can do this. And if I didn't believe you could do this, you wouldn't be here. See, sometimes we have to believe in people.
Sometimes, all the time. Gotta believe in it.
Exactly.
It's your team. You put them together. Work it out. Yeah, I'm a pretty smart guy. I get a lot of things, but I listen to others, and I take what I believe is the best ideas I can get, and I put them into my world. And
Hmm.
I ask my team for their input, because if they see something that I don't, then my intellect isn't going to work for the team. And we all want the same outcome: transparency, reputation, and respect. So why wouldn't I involve the team? And Lombardi was a smart guy, right?
They,
Made it
they,
all work out from having
yeah, they got it. You win the Super Bowl, you get a Lombardi trophy.
there you go.
There's a reason why he was a winner. But see, the thing about it is as a team, as a team. See, I was fortunate, I got to coach, my son's football team. They hadn't won a game in 3 years, so I got tired of it. I went out there and I basically imposed myself, because and the other coaches didn't like it. But I wasn't there for them. I was there for those kids, and I taught those kids, how to win. And the first thing we had to work on was their attitude, because if they don't believe in themselves, it ain't going to happen. And if you don't believe in them, they're not going to believe in themselves. And so, anyway, Keith, we win the second to the last game, and they're super happy. But let me back up a little bit. I was a little sterner with them than the other coaches. And if one player on the team messed up, the whole team paid the penalty for it. So they were all ran laps. So I didn't get on the individual. I didn't have to. The team got on the individual. And so anyway, we win the second. And they told my son, "We hate your dad. We hate your dad. We hate your dad." So because I made them accountable, but then they won. So the second to the last game of the year, Keith, what happened was is we lost by 1 point. And they're all disappointed, and I go, "What's going on?" We lost. Did you quit? No. Winners never quit. Winners never win. I'm more proud of you guys this week than I was last week. So I'm walking off the field. I hear this, and they douse me with the Gatorade. I go, "Why did you do me and not the other coaches?" Because we love you. So one of the kids, now this is sixth grade, one of the kids on that team won Defensive Player of the Year for the state of California his senior year for graduation. I'm getting a little choked up. Keith, he stood next to me when he graduated.
Wow, that is quite the honor.
Yes.
But
And
that's the value of leadership. You get that stuff.
right, because he knew that I cared for him enough that I was going to hold him accountable. And I believed in him. In fact, when that same year in sixth grade, that went over from football into basketball. Well, he was the dominant player. We wiped out every basketball team we played. Then what happened is normally they have like a playoff scenario. The other schools didn't want any part of it. So they didn't even have a playoff. That was the impact of just me teaching those kids how to win, to believe in themselves, to go to the extent of winning. Well, the same thing carried over in my business because I believed in my team.
Mm-hmm.
And then I got really smart. Then I learned how to delegate. And once I learned how to delegate, whether I was in the shop or not, the business continued to go.
Did they call you Gator?
No, no, they called me a lot of things, but I'm not going to repeat it. it was a man's environment.
Yeah.
So,
Okay.
but see, the thing about it is when we believe, first of all, you got to believe in yourself, and then you got to believe in others. And sometimes you're going to have, put others before yourself. Because Keith, if you wouldn't have took care of, spent time with that young lady in the quality time, when she left relieved, how did you feel?
Exuberant.
Yeah. And see, and it's contagious.
Mm-hmm.
And see, when people come to work for you, not just for a paycheck, but because they want to do a good job, they want to excel at what they do. And when they have that passion and that motivation to be the best of the best, it all starts with leadership. So what were your takeaways, sir?
Go team.
Together everyone achieves more,
Yeah.
you know.
And when there is the rogue person that has the I in the team, we take them aside and we ask them why, right? We ask them what their core beliefs are in the moment. And if they've changed from what our core beliefs are as a team, then we either get back on the same page or they go somewhere else.
Or it tells you, hey, you need to be looking for someone else.
Always looking for somebody else. Actually, I got
Yeah.
an ad out right now. I don't need anybody else right now, but I've got an ad out.
So I'm going to tell you a funny story and you'll bust up. So I go in for this interview, right? And the guy goes, "Well, we're not hiring right now, but I don't want to look gift horse in the mouth." And he said it like two or three times. So when he got done, talking to me, I go, "Hey, I need your help." His name's Dave. I go, "See this right here? This is the horse's mouth." Are you going to let this horse walk into another facility, or are you going to take advantage of my skill right now? And he busted up. Over.
Mm-hmm. What do I sign?
Yeah. And so, listen, there's all kinds of ways of learning. I got tapes from 50 years ago, cassette tapes. Some people had listening, what the heck's that? I had a cassette player. Of course, there was an 8-track before then, there was a 4-track. But now we have technology. And I don't know if you could see this or not, but I have over 60 books on how to make myself better on my phone because I want to be the best of the best. And it's not going to happen by accident. Natural ability will only take you so far. Trust me.
Always be climbing.
Always be climbing. Always see. How can I expect somebody else on my team to want to elevate themselves if I'm not elevating myself?
Oh, because do as I say, not as I do, Dal.
Yeah, that works really good, right? And remember the old saying, one finger at me is, 3 fingers and a thumb looking back at you. But
Yeah.
anyway, I just want, I want to express my deep gratitude to my good friend Keith. Listen, we do this to help people. That's what we do. If you can help enough people get what they want in life, you can get what you want in life. That's a leadership training from Zig Ziglar. If you can help enough people get what they want in life, you can get what you want in life. Help find out what your team's vision is, find out individual vision is, find out what their goals are, and let's get on the same page and let's see if we can help them, get what they want.
We're all growing together.
That's right. Anyway, um, thank you so much. Be blessed, everybody. And, bless my friend Keith. Have a great day.
Thanks, Dal.